It's funny how people said that last week's SmackDown was one of the worst, while I believe that this show was definitely a contender. It almost felt like a wet Vince McMahon dream. None of it felt important, none of it made sense, and this might be the worst segment we saw in 2022. It's crazy how WWE still don't get it. People dressing up as other wrestlers for comedy never works, unless they're heels. But right now everyone is talking about WWE moving from TV-PG to TV-14, and WWE decided to tease us, which actually gives me hope. During a promo, Pat McAfee said,
"This ain't TV-14
yet. So you're telling me there's a chance." Funny enough, SmackDown is not going to be TV-14. As of right now, I didn't hear about it. It's Raw that goes TV-14. So what about Seth Rollins? On Raw, he's going to be Seth Rollins. On SmackDown, he's going to be Seth freaking Rollins. Frick you guys! Welcome back to another episode of Greatness of SmackDown. Before we continue, a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Wrestling GM. We all love General Manager mode, but if you want a General Manager with no limitations, Wrestling GM is the way to go. What I love about Wrestling GM is that it gives you all the tools you need in General Manager. Pick a promotion, manager, roster, championships. You can upgrade your product, build teams, factions, rivalries, check your show's history, sign free agents, and so much more. And of course, you gotta make sure to book the best wrestling show possible. I actually played Wrestling GM before on my channel and I had a lot of fun. If you wanna check out Wrestling GM series on my channel, there is a playlist in the description. Wrestling GM is available on both iOS and Android devices. Download the game by using the link in the description. It's not a secret, sometimes we act like marks.
I could book this better.
Well, prove it. Download the game. The show kicks off with Michael Cole introducing us to Pat McAfee. He tells the fans that after the attack by Baron Corbin, his neck was only bruised and you shouldn't be worried. He remembers being roommates with Corbin. He had hair, he was humble, but then he came to WWE and became an arrogant douchebag. At SummerSlam, he will humble him back to being a good man. Corbin appears on the Titantron. "You're constantly running your mouth. I would come to the ring." He shows bruises on his arm and says he doesn't want to get hurt anymore. He possibly has monkeypox. "The real reason you're not coming to the ring is because you're afraid." And then Pat McAfee introduces us to Liv Morgan. Like I've said before, it's funny how the best WWE matches right now, the most anticipating matches, are actually between someone who's not necessarily a legit wrestler. It's funny. Like, I cannot wait to see Logan Paul in action against The Miz. I cannot wait for Baron Corbin versus Pat McAfee. Say what you will, attraction matches actually work. And yes, Pat McAfee teasing TV-14 really gives me hope. I don't think WWE would mention it. I feel like WWE don't want to make an announcement because that's kind of weird. We're gonna be TV-14 now. Yes, we sucked for the past 20 years or whatever. It was time for Liv Morgan versus Natalya in a championship contenders match. If Natalya beats Liv Morgan, she's gonna earn the opportunity. I cannot stand these matches. Championship contenders matches should not be a thing. Whatever the case may be, Ronda Rousey faced Natalya last week and it was quite a short match. And this wasn't as short, so Liv Morgan takes the W, but Kayla says, well, I can't help but notice that Ronda Rousey actually beat Natalya a little bit quicker. That's Natalya's WWE career in a nutshell. One day, she's facing for the SmackDown Women's Championship. A couple of days later, it's an argument. Who could beat Natalya faster? Liv Morgan says, yes, I know I'm an underdog, but I'm going to still be the SmackDown Women's Champion after SummerSlam. I'm actually excited about this match. I think it's really unpredictable. On one hand, I do still see Liv Morgan retaining. She just became a champion. We want to see her as a champion. On the other hand, she's facing Ronda Rousey. So, I guess the most likely scenario, someone interferes. Natalya, Charlotte. During Theory's interview, Paul Heyman walks in and tries to convince Theory not to cash in at SummerSlam. It doesn't make any sense. So basically what he tells him to do is don't cash in, and I'll make sure to schedule a match between Theory and Roman Reigns in front of a big audience. Theory doesn't agree and says once I become the WWE champion, I might need a special counsel as well. So Theory said that he is going to cash in no matter what, which basically tells us he's not gonna cash in at SummerSlam. Like I've said, I have no idea how Theory is going to become the WWE champion. I actually recorded a whole video about this. I'll probably release it tomorrow, so that's that. The Viking Raiders music hits, but it's Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston dressed as the Raiders. And as you expect, they made fun of them with a bunch of accents, video game references, movie references, everything Vikings basically. And we smell something along those lines. Oh man, this was bad. This was honestly one of the worst segments I've seen. Once I saw the costumes, I knew it's gonna be bad. We saw the Viking Raiders, the new they call them ugly, Shanky and Jinder Mahal with a surprise attack, and I thought we're about to see Jinder Mahal dancing, but unfortunately we didn't. Jinder still doesn't have these major Coco Jumbo vibes. Lacey Evans was supposed to face Aaliyah, but she refuses. She makes an entrance, doesn't get the reaction she wants, restarts the music, still doesn't get the respect that she deserves. I overcame obstacles that the average American couldn't even imagine. She calls herself an American hero and says she is an example of everything the fans can't be. She apologizes to anyone that she offended. A typical YouTuber apology. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm not actually sorry. Like, I don't feel guilt. I don't think I did anything wrong. I was right, actually, and I still hold that opinion. But I'm sorry you feel that way. I know I'm right. You suck. You know, you're an idiot. I mean it. But if you're offended, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way. If you don't accept my apology, you can go to hell. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it's pretty much exactly what we heard last week. I don't even know what happened in this match because the announcer revealed that it's not gonna be Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, it's gonna be Drew McIntyre versus Ridgeholland before the actual thing happened. So basically Sheamus was making an entrance, the graphic said Sheamus, but the announcer introduced Ridgeholland, who we later found out is going to face Drew McIntyre instead of Sheamus because Butch rang the bell while Ridge was in the ring. I guess that was the original plan. As if we're gonna get Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre, but since he rang the bell, well, let's have Ridge versus Drew McIntyre instead. I'm confused, but I guess we got an announcer botch. So as expected, Drew McIntyre wins this one, no surprise here. We still don't know who Roman Reigns is going to face during that UK pay-per-view. Hopefully, it's a triple threat match. Now Paul Heyman is trying to convince Madcap that he should hurt Theory. I saw the way you hurt Baron Corbin, so now you need to hurt Theory the same way. Seems to me like you're worried. Generic music starts playing and Madcap Moss makes an entrance. Oh boy. WWE 2K generic music is better. Anyway, during this match, Michael Cole actually did an amazing job. The match was actually fun, but Michael Cole was like, these boys can go. These are some talented individuals right here. Wow! Like, Michael Cole really sold it. And he made me believe that this is actually better than it actually was. It did kinda seem like watching two breaking stars, you know. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing it with current Madcap Moss gimmick and the name, especially the name. But Theory hits Madcap Moss with the briefcase, gets disqualified. Typical WWE. This was not necessary. Madcap Moss can take the pin. After the match, we see Sami Zayn. He says you disrespected the bloodline and there are serious consequences for those who do. You should apologize. Theory says, what are you going to do? You have one arm. And the Usos music hits. Sami Zayn is the new head of the table. So Theory runs away and gets greeted by Madcap Moss. This was actually pretty good. Sami Zayn is now part of the family. Sami Zayn calls the shots. Roman Reigns is like a secondary leader at this point. So it's time for Angelo Dawkins versus Jimmy Uso. This was the main event of SmackDown. Not necessarily super excited about this one. I didn't really like the finish, so the referee was down. He couldn't pay full attention. Angelo Dawkins goes for the cover. Jimmy's shoulder was visibly up, but he still counts to 3. Very convenient writing. I hated this. But now it seems like we need a special guest referee. We need a special guest referee, ladies and gentlemen, because a regular referee can't do his job. A former wrestler who never worked as a referee might just do a better job. I like wrestling's logic. Adam Pearce comes out and says, I understand why both teams are upset. Which is why their Undisputed Tag Team Championship match at SummerSlam needs a guest referee. Like a second referee. You know, someone who knows how to do his job. I'm obviously exaggerating. That's wrestling. It's supposed to be stupid. And it's Jeff Jarrett. He's gonna be the special guest referee. We got a brawl, and Pat McAfee was just over the moon. He couldn't pay attention to the brawl. He was hyping up Jeff Jarrett's return. Okay, fine. That's interesting. Definitely interesting. Doesn't make any sense, no. It's very I don't know what's happening. It's like a dream, you know. You wake up and you're like, well, that was stupid. But yeah, Jeff Jarrett is going to be a special guest referee. Fine. Why though? Why? Why? Anyway, thank you for watching The Great One. Peace, love, and hugs. It's been a pleasure.